The Pan-South African Language Board, PANSLAB, has welcomed the signing into law of the BELA Bill. The Language Board says this is a progressive step towards promoting the equitable use of all official languages, as well as elevating the status of previously marginalised languages. Now, the bill includes a section that directly addresses accountability by the schools' SGBs regarding, of course, language policies they adopt in order to ensure that no language is used for division, dominion or racial exclusion. PANSLAB CEO Mr. Lance Shultz now joins us to further expand on this. Lance, great having you with us today. Welcome. So at this stage, we know that, of course, the clauses 4 and 5 are still subject to debate and consultation for about the next 3 months, according to the president. So what are your views on these two clauses, and what do you think of those that are opposed to it? Do they have any valid concerns?
Firstly, a very good afternoon to you and your viewers, and thank you very much for having me. I think I must firstly just express condolences on behalf of the Pan-South African Language Board on the passing of Pravin Gordhan, our former minister, and also expressing those condolences then to family, comrades and friends. As the Pan-South African Language Board, we had been very, very happy. This is the bill has been 10 years in the making. There's been a lot of consultation, there's been a lot of discussion with various groupings, and we believe it is going a long way to ensure that it facilitates communication, in fact, across barriers of color, language, as well as religion. And at the same time, it's creating an environment for respect for languages, and we want to ensure that the schooling system is geared up that addresses the needs of languages within our respective communities. So the very first thing is Section 4 and 5. Section 4 firstly dealing with the decision-making process in terms of the admission of learners. That's the one aspect which is still going to undergo the consultation. The second part, which is important for us as the Pan-South African Language Board, is the second one, which deals with the selection of language from the SGB and the decision then from the DBE to make a decision whether a particular language will have to be included in the school or not. We believe that there's two areas that we as the Pan-South African Language Board can provide and should provide assistance in respect of the Act. The first area is to ensure that we've got credible research, we've got provincial language committees, and we're extending the opportunity to the school governing bodies as well as these communities to ensure that they use the provincial language committees to provide this type of research into the choice and the ultimate composition of the language cohorts in schools. Mm-hmm. The second aspect is the aspect of the procedure in terms of mediation and conciliation, or it could be negotiation also that the board would have to embark on. We would like to see a tightening of this within the review over the next few months. We will be making some submissions in line with the PANSLAB Act, and what it really provides for is that any person or body or group or institution has a right to lodge a complaint or a concern regarding the choice of policy or practice. We will, without fear or favour, investigate that and make recommendations. And we would strongly implore that this be put as a solid dispute resolution mechanism into the bill so that we avoid lengthy court procedures within SGBs as well as the schools at large.
Very interesting point you make there, Lance, of credible research. Look, I spoke to Equal Education on Friday, and they were actually very pleased about the bill being signed. They pointed out the fact that there has, in fact, been years of public as well as robust partner consultation. And even with that, the president still extends 3 more months for suggestions or alternatives on these two so-called contentious clauses. So there is seemingly a need to further advance and turn around the current state of languages in our schools, so we move towards more quality as well as equal education.
Yes, and we are in tune with the concerns and a lot of the issues and the sensitivities with regard to the policy as well as how the prescripts will actually be effected through legislation. So we think that 3 months is not a very long time. I think the President is being right in respect of ensuring that there's sufficient engagement, that there's sufficient consensus, and to ensure that the legislation, the practice and the policies that deals both directly and indirectly will assist in respect of the final formulation, and to ensure that we bring everyone along in society. As PANSLAB, we want to ensure that ultimately there should be no diminution of rights, specifically regarding language, that we afford the opportunities then for inclusivity in our schools with regards to all of our official languages. And this is something that we're very happy that the President is emboldened by.
Now, Lance, I know as PANSLAB, you've been rigorously campaigning for the equal recognition of languages, not just in schools, but in every part of everyday society, and school, of course, being the basis where we form and understand diction as well as self-expression. So we've seen how the inclusion of indigenous languages in legal contracts has actually assisted a great deal. So the bill, if correctly effected, should address some of these concerns at grassroots level as well.
Absolutely, and I think that ultimately what it is trying to do, that there is parity of esteem, that there is a culture of including all of our languages in an equitable manner, and that we allow persons that express themselves in these languages as mother tongue speakers, that they have got an equal role to play in society. So I think the incremental introduction of African languages in our schools, the further development of curriculum, the further ensuring of teaching and learning in all of our indigenous languages is something that we're working very strongly with the Department of Education, both basic as well as higher. And this is something we'll advocate for, as well as ensuring that our public sector is geared up to provide services in all of our languages.
Especially on that note there, Lance, where we know that there has been, of course, the report that most children in the smaller grades cannot actually read for meaning, based on the fact that the language or medium of instruction at some of the schools that they go to is actually the one that is stopping them from being able to express themselves.
Absolutely, and I think the 4 domains in terms of, number one, ensuring that corpus status planning, acquisition planning, that all of these areas are addressed. And I think there has been enough spoken around ensuring that this is not just a compact between government and the pupil, that the parents also have got a significant role to play. We need to ensure that pupils read. We need to ensure that our libraries are capacitated, that we give access to appropriate mediums across all of our languages. And we're very diligently working to ensure that we increase the amount of work, whether it be in dictionary or corpus, as well as curriculum that will be available to learners across all of our official languages. So we think that there is a lot of work to be done, but the important aspect is to ensure that there is resources made available, and that the compacting between the access as well as the parents playing their parts needs to ensure that the work then gets done, and that we then increase the principle of improved reading and reading for meaning, specifically in our primary schools.
Absolutely, Lance. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Mr. Lance Shultz, the PANSLAB CEO, on the BELA Bill being signed into law.